But my other one was 57% of technicians say their shop does not share financial results with the team.
That one's better. That one's better.
So
That's a thorn in my fucking side right there. I think we need to talk about that a little bit more in depth because I'm not going first because I won't stop.
So do you want me to start it and pose it, or do you just want to ride dirty?
Pose the question. Pose the question. Pose the question. State your piece, and then Richard can go and I'll go last because I need to listen before I vomit right now.
Okay, so this is my typical Wrenchway statistic. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're pretty legit. 57% of technicians say their shop does not share financial results with the team. And I think looking at it, I feel like that's probably fairly accurate, except for like all but one of the shops that I've worked at have been very intentional with financial stuff. Obviously, it's in-house and it's private and all of those things, but at least once a month, you get, at a bare minimum, the service manager, our store manager, and the parts manager all be there. They'll have all the technicians together and they say, "Hey, we did this. We sold this many parts in the shop." Over the counter to the shop, we've sold all of the this much labor. We did it at this percent GP. We did it at this percent efficient as a team. Yada yada. Great job. We're down. We're up. This is where we need to be. They'll keep a whiteboard in the lunchroom and say, "Hey, this is where we're at for the month." Yada yada. Trying to push the team. So I've been professionally mentored by service managers on the P&L. So I feel like I've been in situations where it's been an open book. I could walk right into my manager tomorrow and say, "Hey, could you go over the P&L from last month with me?" And he would say, "Yeah, when do you want to do it? And let me put some time aside so that we can go through it together." And I'd be able to see everything, what we spend on everything. And any of the technicians that are interested in that in my shop, they all have that same ability. Whether they care or whether they want to know that stuff, is a different story. But it's available to us with the guidance of our management team. So, but I've heard a lot of crazy stories where people don't even know. So I just like to get your guys' take on that.
Okay, I'll go first because Josh can stew on this here. So I can tell right now I've worked for 2 stores where financials were not shared. It was really hard to get any information out of management. When it came to that, they were both, these were not part of a large group, right? So one was owned by a husband and wife team, and then he had a junior partner. Interesting story there. We actually found out by the police coming in and arresting the owner and taking him out in handcuffs that he was possibly embezzling from the company. We found that out the hard way there, and then a group came in and purchased us, and that's where my eyes were open to P&Ls and fixed ops and how a company should be run and how open a company should be with its financials. Like, I don't have to know what everybody makes or what paychecks are or anything like that, but I do need to know like what kind of budget I'm playing with. If we're losing every month, if we're winning every month, we need it. Like, it's not just me as a shop foreman that needs to know that. My team needs to know that as well. Like, I need to have a goal for my team and how to set that. And then the second place that I worked at, again, it was a family-owned business. I had come from a group where everything was open, like how much, what kind of goal we were being set every month, like that, what kind of budget I needed to hit every month, like I knew all my numbers coming from one group and then coming to another location. I asked the question to my service manager. I asked like straight out, what is our goal this month? And she looked at me and she said, "I don't know." So, well, what kind of budget were you playing with last month? "I don't know." I'm like, do you even know what your net to gross percentage is? And she's like, I don't know any of that. She goes, I'm not, I sit here, I just make the calls, I close warranty. She goes, I don't know what kind of budget I'm playing with. I don't know how much money the store made last week. And then the funny
That's a
thing is
core
that, well, that store then got purchased by a group, right? And that's when I found out from the parts manager. Well, she didn't want to be parts manager, but she was the unofficial parts manager. They came to her with a stack of paperwork and were like, hey, where's all this missing inventory? And it was 60 pages, 60 pages of missing inventory. So it was like tonneau covers, toppers, steps, wheels and tires, nothing that got billed to the deal, right? So there were a ton of deals that walked out the door, and none of it got billed to the deal. And I asked her, I'm like, well, what's your gross? Like, what is your average gross per month? I don't know. I was never told that. I was never told anything. Like, so that's how in the dark that dealership was. And then I find it's more, you're probably going to hear these horror stories with more of the smaller mom and pop locations than you will with the larger places, right? Because it's they don't run the business like a business, right? Like you hear, like a lot of these smaller mom and pop shows will run the business like a bank. They will pull money out, they'll put money in, they'll continually move. Money's always moving in these large dealerships or the smaller dealerships, and they don't want to give anybody that information. They think if you know too much, you can you're either a threat or you're a danger to them. So then they'll want to eliminate you. But I think every shop should know what the goal for the month is, how close we are to hitting it. Did we hit it? Is there like, even if my guys don't hit the monthly goal, I still thank them for the job that they've done, because they have all busted ass to try and get there, right? They know what the number is. It's on the wall. It goes down every day because we change the number every day. It goes down every day, and they're like, "Oh man, look how close we are to getting this goal," and it gets them pumped up, right? So I think shops, I think they should be forward with the P&L sheet. If you want to see the P&L sheet, they should say, yeah, here you go. If you want to learn how to read it, I'll show you how to read it. But here it is. Do you know how to read it? No? Okay, well, let's break it down and we'll show you. This is what our total sales was. This is what our adjusted sales was after, the fixed absorption came out of it. And then when they ask, well, what's fixed absorption? That's your paychecks. That's the power bill. That's, shop supplies. That's like everything that the dealership has to pay for to make sure that you can walk in here and work every day. I think if a technician asks, you should be able to explain it to them, because that is integral to them learning about how to negotiate a wage if they decide to leave your dealership, right? Like it's the whole concept that Russell has of where you look at the door rate and you're like, hey, I want 35% of your door rate. And it's like, well, you know what? Like, that doesn't always work. Like, you need to ask more direct questions. Like, what's their ELR? Their door rate might be huge, but their effective labor rate might be crap. And that's actually what they're grossing on every hour of labor that's sold. So I think the thing is, if a technician wants to know, give it to them, right? You have to celebrate the curiosity in technicians, because that's going to drive them forward to become a better tech, right? If they know, hey, if I'm in my bay for 8 hours and I'm producing 10, 12, 13, 14 hours, then this is what I'm going to make, right? This is what I'm going to take home. And if the dealership's prosperous, I'm going to be prosperous. And they need to know that they're an integral cog in that mechanism, right? Like because most techs come in and they're just like, oh yeah, I'm just shit on for 8 hours and without knowing. And I think the more we open up to techs and give them the information, the better off they're going to be, knowing that we're invested in them progressing. So that's, yeah, I've had it both ways. I've had where I've never known the budgets, and then I was given everything, and I prefer to know, because then it's like, oh man, like if you're having a bad month, If the dealership as a whole is having a bad month, then everybody, like, it will make people pick up. And it'll be like, no, let's, I can get that service out. I can, let's upsell this. Let's push. Like, come on, let's go. I'm watching the number on the wall not drop as much as I want it to. So it can give drive to technicians to push. But again, that all comes down to leadership, right? So
It gives them more ownership.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more,
so.
yeah, when you know what's going on, you have more ownership in it. You're not like, hey, we need this specialty tool, Richard. I need this for this job. And then you're like, okay, well, we can't get it. And then I walk away and I go back to my bay and I'm like, talk to my bay mate. I'm like, yeah, I told Richard we need that fucking tool. And he's like, yeah, we can't buy it. Fuck you. And I'm like, well, fuck me, dude. And then that's how it all goes down. But if I have a more of an understanding of this is what we budget for our specialty tooling, or this is what we budget for shop maintenance or whatever, then I have more understanding of why we do it, why you said that, or why you made that call that way. And I feel like the pill is more easily swallowed when I understand what's happening and not just hey, well, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I think the big portion there, and this speaks to your working environment, right? This is a big thing to talk about, to your working environment, and we're going to go in deep on this. But if anyone knows even remotely what the budget is, and legitimately, and it's not just like Richard walking at the shop, like having his Wednesday meeting, is like, hey folks, we got $5,700 in the budget this month for maintenance, repairs, special tools, whatever. It's one thing to say it, like that's awesome. The fact that you say it, if you say it at all, it doesn't matter. But the fact that somebody says it, that's one thing. But showing them, it's like, this is how we calculate our month. This is, these are the extraneous costs that we have on the business this month. This is what we're doing this month. This is what our projections are this month. This is, our month. We have a monthly budget of this, and we also have a monthly budget for savings for our yearly expenses, which is this. So we have, looking at the P&L isn't just what last month is. You got to look at your projections and your savings accounts for things like, okay, we know we need to replace hoist number 7 this fiscal year. Like, we've already fixed it 3 times. The pump's going. We want to convert these old, really, really ancient snap-on hoists, but the group now has a deal with rotaries, so we're going to start putting rotaries in as replacement. But it's going to cost us, $17,800 to put a new hoist in, between the electrical, between the re and blah 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 blah, plus the downtime, blah blah blah. So we got $15,000 in there now, but we have to budget $500 just for monthly repairs on the existing hoist until we get there. We have to save, plus budget for repairs, plus actually do the repairs when the time comes and the money lost. So you think, okay, if it's going to cost me $17,500, gentlemen, it's gonna cost us a total of $24,000 by the time wasted, lost repair time from the hoist being down, this, and this. And when you look at all the ancillary costs to doing major repairs like that, and everybody understands that it's not just it's a $10,000 hoist. No, not a $10,000 hoist. It's a $10,000 hoist. It's $3,000 in permits. It's $2,000 in electrical. It's $2,000 to have the old one hauled away, and we get a little money for scrap, so that's going to offset a little bit of cost. Plus, it's downtime and labor. Plus, I'm going to have to basically send this guy on vacation for 3 days because I got nowhere else for him to work. So he's going to be off for a couple days. So now I'm paying for somebody to be off and not work. And it's not just a $10,000 hoist. So A, you're going to show them what that looks like on paper. And 2, you're going to educate them that it's not just a repair or a replacement. And to speak specifically to your example, Marshall, like a special tool. Sometimes the tool is $50. Sometimes it's $5,000. Like, you don't always, as a technician, I never knew what a special tool was worth until I started in some kind of leadership to understand that, sometimes you can't just order that tool. Like, as ridiculous as that sounds, when we order modular parts, when, you know, if a headlight, you can't necessarily just order a headlight. It's now a headlight assembly that comes with the computer that runs the high beams or runs the DRL or runs the position sensor or the motor that generates how it moves. The same thing applies to special tools. Sometimes you can't order the 57.5 millimeter 13-point socket that is a 1-inch drive for this specific thing. Sometimes you have to order the $5,000 tool case. And sometimes that is still the case 5 years on. If that tool breaks, you can't just order that tool. You have to order a $5,000 case. It's a lot different budgeting for a $200 tool versus a $5,000 case. And just saying, no, we can't do it this month is also not a great way to communicate. As a leader, you want to be saying, hey, I would love to replace that tool this month. I'm looking at alternatives to replacing just that tool. Right now, it's a $5,000 nut. We don't have $5,000 in the budget for that. We've already allocated the budget for other more high value things or more high priority things in our tree. These are the 5 things that are in that tree so that you understand. I'm not saying no because I don't want to do it for you. I'm saying no because we have other priorities for this business. Understand how that money is being transacted. So when somebody goes back to the bay and instead of saying, fuck this guy because he won't get me the special tool, it's like, okay, how can I help the situation? I've got a broken tool. What can I do to help the situation? Can I be thoughtful about, you know, the repairs that are coming in? When I see something that I'm diagnosing, how can I do a running counter for that special tool? Meaning I needed this special tool this many times in the last 6 months, saying, okay, this isn't a low priority. This is a high priority. And these are the 6 work orders why. Now you're not two things there. One, you're not being an asshole because boss man didn't get you the special tool. But 2, you're now being tactical with them saying, hey, I understand that from your perspective and those reasons why has you put it on a low perspective. But from my standpoint, these 6 work orders are costing us financial, causing us financial loss because I can't do the repairs. And those repairs equated to $6,000 worth of work
Yeah.
or lost revenue. And they can go, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that was a part of the equation that I didn't know. And I think that's where, when we talk about 57% of technicians don't understand what the results of the money or the results of the business are at the end of the month, I think 57% is not high enough. I think it's way higher than that. To be honest, as a technician, in every shop I ever worked at, as a technician, I never knew what money was going on. Never. It was never shared. When I asked, I was told to basically fuck off or go away. And I would suggest that there are many folks in the last year and a half of doing coaching, majority of them never knew what a P&L was. They'd never heard the term before because they're not business savvy. They just expected, you know, there's 15 technicians, so they're making all kinds of money. It's like, well, do you know what the rent is on that building? No idea. And then I'll do something simple like I'll try to do an MLS report on comps in the area. So okay, it's 3 acres on the main road of that town. So that property based on that facility, I know that it's leased. Just doing some background check. Okay, so it's probably a $75,000 a month lease payment. And to see some of them the jaw drop or the what, to understand that lease property of that size in that area of cities is stupid amounts of money. And just to think that, you know, the monthly gas bill on the shop, on a 20 tech shop in Canada, is astronomical. We complain. I remember being, you know, 22, 23, working in a shop in the middle of winter. It was minus 30 outside, and we would bitch because we couldn't crack the door because we were so fucking hot. We would bitch because it was so hot in the shop because we had the service manager liked to keep it warm in the shop because it melted things quick. We worked better when it was hot in the shop. But some of us who were right by the actual heater itself would literally bake our balls. It was so hot, and we would complain about stuff like that. But you can imagine what the heating bill, just the gas bill from the heat, how ridiculous this is. And without seeing it on paper, without that context, in the reality of the day-to-day, asking for a raise becomes a lot more complex than simply saying, I want 30% of the ELR, or I want this much money because you just raised the door rate $7 an hour. Understanding that you are a very small cog, yes, a very important cog, but a very small cog in what is a multi-million-dollar a month business gives context. I believe it humbles mechanics when we truly understand what the business does, especially when we actually get to see it on paper.
Yeah.
I tried to keep it as clean as I could in there, but
No,
I could
you're
go
good.
in how
I think
important that is.
I think too, like a little tidbit that I like to do on that same note is like, because this is a thing that technicians run into all the time. Hey, we need this tool, we need this thing, whatever it is. Um, what I like to do is I find that tool that I need, and then I find a vendor that we can buy it through the shop. And sometimes I find three, and then I get the prices on all three. And because I know that my service manager is going to do this, now, if I do some of the legwork and then I go to him, like, hey, I need this tool. Here's three vendors. Here's three prices. I can have this one here in 3 days, this one here tomorrow, and this one will take a week, but this one that's a week is $800 cheaper. But I need the tool. If you come to them with all of the information right off the rip and you do the footwork, it's a lot easier for them to make a call right that second, instead of putting you off or saying, yeah, it's not in the budget. Sometimes that it's not in the budget situation sometimes is their way of pushing you off. So if I do all the footwork, a lot of times I get more yeses than I do nos when I do a lot of the footwork. I don't come to one of them with the problem and then just walk away. I come to them with the problem and multiple solutions to said problem, and then I let them make a call. And like I said, most of the time I get more yeses than nos. But a perfect real world situation was, you guys know I got a new service truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
A few months ago, I got a new service truck, and I'm super excited about it still. I fucking love it. The AC, perfect. Anyway, and it's just so much more ergonomic.
For those, quick interruption here, Marshall. For those who have never worked mobile, who have never ever worked mobile, you have no idea how important your whatever it is you're in every day is until you are working mobile. And then you have a significantly higher appreciation for those who do work mobile, because we literally have to eat and sleep sometimes and breathe in that truck or van. So like, it's like going back to me fixing forklifts and getting in that van in the morning. Like, Georgia, down in Georgia, you don't have to deal with the snow. And
Yeah.
when it's minus 35 and there's 18 inches of snow on top of my van, and I got to go out at 5 o'clock in the morning to snow plow or to snow blow or to shovel off my truck and let it run so that I might actually have heat for 45 minutes before I get in my truck. And then I get in my truck. If my truck is still cold, the last thing I want to do is fucking go to work. But I got to tow all of that shit in the back of my truck, the parts, the tools, the special tools, like gallons and gallons and gallons of oil to think like fixing forklifts is a completely different animal. I remember time having 4 buckets of hydraulic oil for a hydraulic oil change for one, and changing the oil and all of the other work. And I had to, I think that particular day I had to change forks on two little Toyota forklifts that day. So I had 2 forks in the back, 2 sets of forks in the back, plus all the like my truck was sitting like this. And I'm going, my poor truck. I just got it cleaned. Anyway, sorry.
Our like even in Alberta here, most of their service trucks, they're all heated. Like all the tool bays are heated because nobody wants to go out and in minus 40 grab a fucking frozen wrench with your bare hand.
But yeah, so I was on them. I'd been running the same old service truck for 3 years. I said, hey, and when you're looking at it through a microscope, you're like, I'm doing this sales. This is where I'm making all this money for the company, and it'll start to eat at you, and you're like, man, why can't I get a new service truck? I don't understand it. Like, I'm making all this money. So and I was at him. Hey, what's the deal with service truck? I need a new service truck. I was always on him about it. If I didn't mention at least once a week that, I was probably dead. But at least once a week, I hit him with, hey, am I going to get a new service truck? So, what really made it a reality was like, hey, this is where you need to be. These are the metrics that need to be hit so that you can get a new service truck. You hit the metrics, we'll get you a truck. Say less, homie. Say less. I will do whatever it takes. I will work the hours that it takes. I will get up early. I will come home late. I will do whatever it takes to get the service truck so that my life will be better day to day. So, and I did it. I did it in 3 months, and they ordered my truck. So now they ordered my truck, and it took 8 months to get it. But I mean, they showed me the paperwork. Hey, she's lined out. She's ordered up, buddy. So, but not knowing what was going on was eating me up. And I know that I wanted to mention it because I know a lot of other technicians are in those positions daily. And if you think about it from that perspective, and then you may even, depending on the cost of the thing, if it's like a CapEx situation, I don't know what a typical CapEx would end up being, how much something has to be. What is it, over 1,000 or over 5,000? Typically it's CapEx.
Usually over $1,000 before it's classified as a capital asset.
So, if you get to that point and that thing that you guys need is that kind of price range, you may say, hey, what do we got to do to get it? You tell me what we need to do as a team so that we can work as a team to get this said thing that we need to get, air conditioning in the shop or whatever it is. Like, where do we need to be? So we as a team, we can rally each other to get the fucking air conditioning for the shop or get it fixed or whatever that thing is that you guys really want that would make your lives a lot better, but is really expensive and seems out of reach. And I
think that's
like
also an opportunity with things too, right? Because it doesn't like you've positioned yourself in a way that you're looking at metrics that are valuable to you so that it makes your life easier. You think, and you brought up a great example, like what do we have to hit in order to get AC in the shop? And I think that's a really big metric for a lot of technicians out there going, I don't want to work there because they don't have AC. Or I don't want to work, or whatever the case may be. So from the techs that happen to be in that shop, maybe you should be thinking about, okay, we don't have air conditioning in the shop. That's maybe we're not exactly in the south. Maybe we're up north close to Canada, and we don't necessarily need air conditioning, but it would be nice to have. The shop's in good shape, the hoists are in good shape. We don't have any massive issues, maintenance and repair wise in the shop. It would be great to somehow get AC installed in the shop. What would that look like? And I think from a different standpoint, having leadership involved in that conversation and going, hey, so I hear you guys want AC in the shop. Okay, we had 3 different companies come in and do a quote. It's going to cost us, $75,000. Was the lowest quote. The best quote, spitballing here, folks, but the best quote's $140,000. That's a lot more than the $75,000 quote, but that includes all the maintenance for 10 years. That's included, so we don't have to think about it, so we can budget long term. That's a 10-year warranty. That's a this, and this. And I think this is the best target. This is the best product for us in the shop. So that means $140,000, and we can budget this across a loan for 10 years, which means it's going to cost us, roughly $18,000 a year with interest and all the rest of that stuff. So we're talking, a little over $2,000 a month. So we need to figure out a way so that we can include that in our existing monthly expenses without it hurting too much, because we're gonna have to come up with $20,000 down, so we got to figure out how to get that, and we got to come up with an extra $2,500 a month every month, period. Because once it's installed, now the payment's there, period. So it's not like it's something we can just do for 1 month and then that extra effort goes away. We have to figure out, how do we make an extra $2,500 without us spending any money? So, and this is where understanding where P&L comes into play, and understanding the difference between door rate, ELR, and gross, right? You need to generate $2,500 from what's left over. Not $2,500, just generate $2,500 in your revenue. You have to generate $2,500 from what's left over. So it's not the same question. And then explaining how we get to what is left over to use the $2,500. And secondly, coming up with different ways and solutions. Like, do we perhaps we kill, and this is where this little chap Richard's statements, do we kill the Saturday pizzas for the next year so that we can do something? Killing a pizza party every Saturday, which has been a 10-year tradition, is probably not the way to go. Not necessarily the pizza part, because I love pizza, but fuck me, that's not the way to go. But coming up with solutions similar to that, where maybe the shop is doing something special for the techs already, and the techs anonymously or unanimously say, we can do without that for a year so we can get AC. Now it's on the technician's shoulders to say, hey, ladies and gentlemen that are listening, hey, we can do without this for a year for this cause. And we can do this in addition to what we're already doing for this cause, and be not only asking for something, but actively being part of the solution, because A, they understand the context, and B, providing not only the solution, meaning the air conditioning, but being the solution to buying said air conditioning. And this is just, insert anything you want in place of air conditioning, and do your due diligence. Like, technicians out there, if you're complaining about something in your shop, this is broken, or we need this, or we need this tool, or we need the scan tool, or whatever the case may be, do your due diligence. And then ask yourself, if you were in your service manager's shoes or your fixed op director's shoes, is that, let's say it's a sand tool, it's 10 grand. Is it actually 10 grand, or is it going to cost them more than that? It's 10 grand a month, 10 grand plus the monthly subscription cost, plus a liability that should go to the kitty every month saying, Justin dropped the damn thing and broke the fucking cable and it needs to get fixed. Or, Joe left it on overnight for 24 hours outside in a truck, so now the battery's fucking blistered and broke and we need a new battery for it. So you need to budget for that. So now it's not a $10,000 purchase. It's now a $10,000 purchase plus taxes, plus maintenance for the foreseeable future, plus. So you understand what it is you're asking for. And then once you've done your due diligence and you've written it down, and you then bring it to your service, like, hey, I think we would fix these problems that we see in the shop because we're starting to see off-brand. This is what it's going to cost us. These are the ancillary accessories I think that we need. This is what it's going to cost us for the monthly subscriptions. This is what it's going to cost us as a, put aside money. I think if we sold this old piece of equipment that's in the back of the shop, and I will participate in helping that occur, we can afford this next month. Now you have buy-in, right? But that all stems from the beginning of this conversation, from providing anyone who wants and asks for budgetary expense and revenue results at the end of the month. Like what not just the end of the month, maybe even like Richard mentioned, progress. What is our ELR so far this month? What is our hours per row this month? From both the service side standpoint and from the mechanic standpoint, what is our warranty penetration to CP? How can we help in that regard? Like all of those things that, I've talked about at length and talked about in detail. Those are things are great things that we need to provide. So Awesome question. Well, kind of a statement from a percentage, but
Yeah.
awesome question.
Yeah, and too, like once you got that buy-in, you really gotta be in the mindset after that. Like sometimes I come back to the shop and it's 4:30, and my manager's like, "Hey, are you cutting out, or you heading to the house, or what's going on?" Or he'll just flat out say, "Hey, man, you look tired. You need to go to the house." And then I'll say, "Dude, I got one more call. I got a $700 truck payment to make." You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I got to do my part. Now you got me the truck. I got to maintain the sales. I got to maintain the things that I'm doing so that I can still afford my new truck. You know what I mean? Like I could go ahead.
That puts ownership though on you though, Marshall. Like
Yeah.
I think that's involving techs in that process gives them ownership, right? It gives them the sense of
Yeah.
accountability for like, hey, well, I gotta put my big boy pants on and actually get to work and do some shit, or they're not gonna be able to, we're not gonna be able to afford this next month or anything like that. So I think
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, I think it's the more information, it's not even information, the more we educate technicians in the process, the better off they're going to be at the end. It doesn't even have to do with information. The more we educate them, the more better off they're going to be, because then they know, how much skin they got in the game, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of techs don't know. They don't know how much skin they got in this game. So
Yeah. You want that AC,
100%.
Bubba? You better. We got $2,500 payment we got to make. Otherwise, I'm sending that shit to the Hawk boys.
Because you think about it, it's Friday night. It's 4:45. Everybody wants to go home. It's like 4:45 when you got a shop full of 10 techs. 4:45 on a Friday is the fucking time to make that $2,500 payment. You got a good couple of advisors and a good couple of techs at the end of the day going, what can we fucking crush right the fuck now? Because this is the time and place. And like I told my son, because he had his third soccer tryout on Friday. You're not feeling well. You got you're snorfy as shit. You've had a long day. This is the time to go out and bust your fucking balls. And I don't often actually swear to him, but I told us, like, this is the time that you go out and bust your fucking balls, because they're going to hear you coughing. They're going to hear you snorfing. They're going to know you're not 100%. But if you're out there giving absolutely everything you have, balls to walls, this is how you show them you make the team, right? This is the moment. Because when you feel like shit and you're still outperforming everybody and you feel like absolute ass and you're outperforming everybody, at least by heart, you're giving everything you have, this is the moment that you make the team. The same thing goes to the techs on the team. 4:45 on a Friday, you're like, what can we do to crush the week right now? And that's when you make that $2,500 AC payment.
my favorite quote from Jocko: "Good. You don't feel like coming into work today? You don't feel like doing that? Good. Show up to work, pull your head out of your ass, and hammer out that work, right?
Yeah.
You're feeling under the weather. Like, that's his little speech there where he just says,
Yeah.
One
good.
word.
Yeah.
Oh, you feel like shit. Oh, you feel awful. Good. Get the fuck to work.
Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone, he said.
Mm-hmm.